Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Max Warframe. Today we're going to be taking a look at another shotgun, one that's been requested quite a lot from me recently, the Infested shotgun, the Phage. Now the Phage is something of a rarity in the world of shotguns, with its damage being entirely elemental, no physical damage types whatsoever, and its base damage of 330 pure viral, when all beams are in contact, is the highest out of all of the shotguns. Although it's not really fair to compare this to the other shotguns, it's basically a tentacle gun that uses shotgun mods. It's really in its own category in terms of that. But apart from that amazing base damage, the Phage's stats are a bit more average from here on out. 10% crit chance with a 200% multiplier, 15% status, they're nothing really to write home about. However, with a fire rate of 1 round a second and a 40 round magazine, the Phage is fantastically ammo efficient, and with a reload of just 2 seconds, you can fire till the cows come home without feeling that you're reloading constantly. It also comes with an innate punch through of about half a meter, which is absolutely fantastic, especially when you're able to deal with groups of enemies and those behind cover, which is definitely not something to be overlooked. Now that said, the Phage isn't immune to a few issues, primarily as the dual fire mechanic. While the damage with all 7 tentacles on target is pretty fantastic, however, when unfocused, the damage per tentacle is very low, and the spread is huge, meaning that without focusing the beam, the damage isn't actually very good at all, and with fire rates not affecting the speed that the beams can be focused, bringing the beams in every time you reload or sprint or roll, getting that focus damage all the time can be time consuming and slightly frustrating. In addition to that, with a range of just 25 meters, it's not the longest range weapon ever. And something that is going to be noticeable on larger maps, or even those with long corridors, it's a very short range weapon, and definitely favours close range maps. Now the Phage can be found in the Clan Dojo in the Infested Biolab, and to be honest, isn't that expensive. It needs 4 mutagen mass that can be picked up from infested invasions very easily, 1500 circuits, 6000 nanospores, and probably the most expensive element, a former. But the best thing about this piece of dojo tech is that it comes with a dash polarity on the weapon already, which, to be honest, justifies using that former immediately. Okay, so let's move on to starting to mod the Phage. Now, as I said earlier, it does come with a dash polarity. However, we're going to add another 5 former, which is going to be 3 Vs and 2 dashes. And we've got a few mods that are remaining the same between the 3 builds. We've got Prime Point Blank for damage, Hell's Chamber for multi-shot, and Shotgun Spatters for fire rate. Now in terms of our Grineer build, we're going to go full on for Radiation Viral. So we're going to go Contagious Spread and Chilling Grasp to bring up the viral damage, Charged Shell, Blaze, and Incendiary Coat, which is going to absolutely maximise that radiation damage. Plus Blaze has the added effect of adding another 60% to the damage of the weapon. Now normally I wouldn't sort of show you this, but this is a sort of experimental Corpus build I'm going with at the moment, where I'm going Radiation, Viral, and Toxin. Now I know that sounds like a bizarre combination for the Corpus. However, going Charged Shell, Blaze, Incendiary Coat, which is going to bring up the radiation. We've got Vicious Spread on there to increase the damage. And we've got Contagious Spread for Toxin. Now the reasoning behind this at the moment, I will explain my reasoning, is that radiation is good against the sort of the machinery of the Corpus. So that, I mean, it has a negative effect on the machine's shields. However, it has a positive effect on the actual robotics of the mowers and things like that. So it sort of balances out. We've got Viral and Toxin, which is going to be really good against the fleshy units, especially the techs and nullifiers, things like that. Viral and Toxin both have a positive effect on the flesh of those 2 units. And Radiation actually doesn't have a negative effect on many of the Corpus units whatsoever. So while you might not get the additional damage of the magnetic against the shields, the radiation does do a ton of damage, so you should be able to balance it out. Like I say, this is sort of an experimental build at the moment. I'm currently still working on this. It seems fairly effective. I was having a lot of problems in terms of getting the right mods on this build, in terms of getting the sort of the magnetic poison that I usually go with the Phage, because that would be pretty fantastic. But trying to get the polarities to work, and with obviously with Blaze in there, Blaze is kind of one of those mods that's too good to lose. Vicious Spread is also fantastic on the Phage. So in terms of that, I was just sort of trying to work around that and trying to see what build I could come up with. I'll let you guys know how this build actually turns out, and if it's actually any good. I don't think it's going to be used on the majority of the weapons. It's just the Phage is something a little bit different anyway. In terms of our sort of Void build, Contagious Spread, Charged Shell, Blaze, and Incendiary Coat. So we're bringing up the corrosive and the heat damage, as well as the viral. We've got Vicious Spread on there as well for extra damage. Now this build is absolutely fantastic in the Void, because viral is really good against the sort of the Grineer based units. You've got heat on there, which is also really good against them. Corrosive, which is good against heavily armoured units. The Phage in the Void is just such a good all-rounder. Definitely fantastic to be using. So do I think it's worth the former and the time and effort to max this? Honestly, I think it's worth doing. The Phage was not a weapon that interested me much when I originally leveled it, to be quite honest. I didn't like the tentacles, I wasn't a fan of the way the damage had to be focused every time. But you know what, after going back and putting a few former on it, and after a ton of recommendations from you guys, actually I kinda like it. It's never going to replace my standard weapons in my loadout, that's for sure. However, for a weapon I whip out every now and again for some fun, it's kind of a laugh. The damage potential that this weapon has is incredible, and the lack of the physical damage types means it's rarely ever going to have a negative damage on an enemy. And because it's got a combination element as its base, you can put 3 different combination elements on the weapon for absolute maximum efficiency when you're fighting against 3 different factions. It's absolutely incredible. It hits like a truck, and without an obnoxious colour, it's kinda cool. Now, one thing I've said a lot, and I've said fairly recently about beam weapons, of which the Phage does count to, is that they're pretty uninteresting and kind of boring. But the fact that there is a ton of tentacle beams, the weapon has to be focused to be used effectively, it's got theatre about it, it has flair, and it's definitely interesting enough for me to not get bored of it instantly. Now I am going to say that this build for the Phage is very ammo heavy, so having a reliable sidearm to use while you pick up ammo for the Phage again is definitely a good idea. Changing shotgun spaz out for more elemental or for ammo mutation, if you will, it's going to change your polarity and you are going to need to change your former a little bit, but it is definitely an option. I tend to find that provided you're disciplined a bit with the trigger on the Phage, you can make the extra fire rate work for you, but I know it's not going to be to everybody's taste. The Phage is a weapon that, in all honesty, until people recommended to me, was sat in my inventory unpotatoed and unformed, and since then, not only have I levelled it and put it away, like some of the weapons I've done, this has actually seen some proper game time for me, and it's been fun to use. I definitely recommend giving this a shot if you like the beam weapons. So in effect, fantastic damage, great elemental customization, and enough Rule 34 jokes to fill many bugs. The Phage is a fantastic weapon, and one I say is well worth a few former. As always guys, many thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, it helps me out a ton, and I shall see you in the next episode.